This episode is brought to you by Nespresso. Gift magical mornings with Nespresso Virtuo Pop. Compact and stylish, Virtuo Pop is made to meet every morning coffee craving. From espresso to coffee, hot or iced, at the click of a button. And celebrate the season with Nespresso's limited edition coffee flavors. Sweet almond and hibiscus, cinnamon and candied tamarind, and festive double espresso. Magic in the making. Shop the holiday gift collection exclusively at Nespresso.com.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Psst, healthcare pros, word's out, and it's too good to keep quiet. Look, LinkedIn is revolutionizing job hunting, making it possible to search by specialty, shift preference, and salary. Endless scrolling is out. Whether it's a mental health therapist or dental hygienist, finding the perfect role is faster and easier than ever. Head to linkedin.com/healthcare and start your search today.
Over the past 20 years, L'Oréal Paris has honored 200 women of worth for uplifting their communities. Women who see the worth in every person, overlooked or underserved, who see an opportunity for change, who see a chance for better. They may be one of 200, but their journeys are always uniquely one of one. Here's to 200 more women of worth.
We're worth it.
We're worth it. We're worth it.
We're worth it.
In Walmart Sulu'ville, time was ticking away. Only a few nights left till the big holiday. But last-minute gifters had no need to worry. Walmart Express Delivery got their gifts in a hurry. From Nintendo to Nespresso and Lego Flowers, they could check off their lists in as fast as an hour. All of Huluville, East, West, South, and North, could order gifts up until 5 p.m. on December 24th. So this holiday, just do as the Who's do. With gift delivery this fast, they all gasped. From Walmart? Who knew? Subject to availability, terms and fees apply.
This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like needing the protection of an offensive guard on the football field, but getting an elementary school crossing guard. Sure, they're both guards, but you can only trust one to keep your quarterback safe when the game is on the line. So don't settle for just any insurance when there's State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
All right, Duke fans, time for episode 778 of the DBR podcast, the Duke Basketball Roundup. I'm going to tell you right now, if somehow your feed, you're like a little confused about the numbers or something, or what's going on, where's the ACC football championship conversation? Episode 777 is mandatory listening. You are required. Go back in your feed. Find 777. We recorded it just literally 30 seconds ago. I promise you. We had to divide it up with too much content, too much stuff going on. 777 is the ACC Football Championship episode. 778 is where we are right now. Jason Evans, Donald Wine, Scott Rich. This is the episode where we're going to talk about Duke with one of the biggest wins of the entire non-conference season, not just for Duke, but for every team in college basketball, going on the road to Michigan, beating the Michigan Spartans.
Hold on there. The Michigan Spartans?
State. Sorry, Michigan State. You know what? So
you did that with two Michigan people on this show, Jason.
Yeah, wait,
how dare you?
I was about to say, that's why I said Michigan instead of Michigan State. I was about to say, I'm joined by two huge Michigan fans who reveled in Duke beating Michigan State, but I got I apologize.
You are forgiven.
Just ellipses. Yeah.
Donald Wine, Scott Rich are both with me. Guys, I got to ask you, Scott, I'll go to you first. Which one of you do you think hates Michigan State the most among the two of you?
I think it's me just because, Donald, I have been living in Michigan more recently than you. I have had to live in close proximity to Michigan State Spartan fans for a little bit longer and more recently than you. It's very annoying when your team loses to Michigan State because you hear about it forever until the next game happens. So for Duke to beat Michigan State, for Duke to beat Michigan State in a game where the lovely, classy Breslin Center crowd decided to chant F you Cam Boozer. I'm not sure if we're going with the explicit or not on this ranking. Okay, so the crowd was chanting "fuck Cam Boozer," who is a nice dude who's done nothing ever. He's no JJ Redick. He's not a villain. He's been around for a few games and has been a stellar exemplar of what it means to be a college basketball player. But anyway, the Breslin Center crowd does that. Cam Boozer's struggling. Duke's only down 3 at halftime, despite Cam Boozer having 2 points. And then the man who was hearing "fuck you" from this Breslin Center crowd for the first half decides to say, no, I'm going to turn that back around. And I am going to take your hopes and grind them into dust. And then Caleb Foster is going to put in the dagger. And then he is going to walk off the floor, waving goodbye to some more classy Breslin Center denizens who are chanting further expletives at him. It was glorious. And then for the dessert, on top of this fantastic lunch, we got Tom Izzo whining like a petulant child in his press conference, somehow complaining about calls that his team did not get in a game where both of Cameron Boozer's 4th and 5th fouls were ghost calls at best. It was just a delectable meal, and it was only the appetizer to episode 777, to our glorious ACC football championship. It was a great damn day, gentlemen.
So I'm not going to debate on who is the better, or at least the bigger fan. I grew up in the rivalry. I will take notice that I am closer to Spartan fans than you may think. My best friend is from East Lansing and went to Duke, but we celebrated my godson's birthday early. Happy birthday, Ethan. We celebrated at her parents' house in Annapolis, who were all Spartan fans. Every last one of them. So it was done specifically because they're Duke fans as well. They their money went there just like my parents' money went. And it's funny because Scott, we're gonna have the same dilemma, right? A more personal dilemma in a couple of months here in DC when Michigan comes to town.
Well, let me clarify. There's no dilemma.
No, when I say dilemma is like more like, do you know how many Spartan fans I know? Like, let's be clear. Just because I don't live in Michigan, don't mean Spartan fans can't find me, right? So, especially when we lose, they like to find me. But what was the glorious thing, and I'm sure you will agree with this, is that yesterday afternoon, my phone was silent. There was nobody texting me. I was the loneliest person in the world, and I loved it because that meant that Sparty fans were not coming after this guy right here. It was my team walking out of the Breslin Center once again as the victors.
I will say I had the inverse experience, which was all of my Michigan friends and family were texting me to say how much they enjoyed what we did to Michigan State. It was a great day, gentlemen. Either way you slice it.
Let's go. I'm sorry, Jason. We're on a rant. Go ahead.
No
this
problem,
is what you risked when you brought me on for the supersized morning.
It was a mistake. So I want. It is possible that there are folks listening to this podcast who are not aware of some of the things that Scott was talking about at the beginning of his conversation about the lack of class displayed in the Breslin Center yesterday. Just so people are aware of it, to put a fine point on it. With about 3 minutes left in the first half, and Cameron Boozer had not scored a point yet in the game. Jeremy Fears, the Michigan State point guard, went to the free throw line, and as he was waiting to take his free throws, the crowd began chanting "Fuck you, Cam Boozer." Fuck you, Cameron Boozer. Or I'm sorry, just fuck Cameron Boozer. That's what they were chanting.
They at least have some rhyming scheme and some metric to their chants at least.
Whatever. As they did that, Jeremy Fears began to raise his arms and egg them on like, yeah, say it louder. That was a mistake by Jeremy Fears. Literally within a minute, Cameron Boozer had scored. He then started out the second half by scoring 14 of Duke's first 17 points. I went and I looked at the clock. He scored 16 points in 13 minutes of game time. Maybe chanting "fuck Cam Boozer" was not a smart move by the Breslin crowd. And then, Donald, I'll let you get in really quick, but the other thing that happened was when the game ended, as the Duke players left the floor, the absolute rain of expletives being showered down upon them by the Michigan State fans was so severe that the Duke men's basketball social media account posted a video that is just nonstop bleep, 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 bleep as the Duke guys go into the locker room and the Michigan State fans show them no respect and show themselves to be the kind of people who don't respect an opponent who came in and fought hard on the court. It was disgusting, and Michigan State should be ashamed of their crowd. They should be ashamed of Jeremy Fears, who went 0 for 10 in the game, couldn't even hit a meaningless, wide open, undefended layup, and they should be ashamed of themselves.
I will say when that happened, right? I sent the clip to you guys, and my note to you was Cam's going for 25 in the second half. Now I was just shy of that.
You were close.
But it was a signal of like, yeah, again, a guy who has done nothing wrong to them. He had, he wasn't playing well at that point, but again, a C- Cam Boozer game is apparently 19 and 15. And he at halftime, I'm sure John Shire and the coaching staff was like, because he knows he can handle, like, yo, Cam, we need you to step up here, buddy. And step up he did. But I think the one lasting image will be, as you mentioned, as the team is running off the court or walking off the court and you hear the expletives raining down, Caleb Foster is just sitting there and he's just pointing at the scoreboard. He's like, he's not even saying anything really. Like, you hear them yelling at him and he just keeps pointing. And even as he enters the tunnel, I think he turns around with one last barb, just goes, "Can you read that?" And pointing at the scoreboard as he goes in. And then they start celebrating there. And then I'll also say, because this is kind of the second game in a row that we've kind of had some bad antics by people, namely against Florida. A lot of people were talking about the Golden press conference where he was kind of, sharp about Duke and kind of saying, oh, we expected the refs to, make it where we have to win by 10. Otherwise we weren't going to win in Cameron. So we had that converse with the fans in the Breslin Center. And throughout all of that, even though he had no right to, John Shire was very, very eloquent in his post-game press conference and
incredibly gracious. Yes.
With his thoughts for Michigan State, his love for Tom Izzo and his respect for the program, and just how he wanted to be in this environment, right? Like, this is not the last time we're going to enter an arena and we're going to hear, fuck Cam Boozer chants or, expletives and stuff like that. This is not the last time we're going to hear it. We should be as used to this as we are used to putting on our coat before going outside in the wintertime. Like, this is part of what we sign up for when we are Duke fans, and it's definitely what these Duke players sign up for. And so this game yesterday was exactly what John Shire was talking about over the summer when he set up this whole loaded schedule of talented teams. And now, as I think one of you sent around yesterday, Matt Norlander says, hey, all year I've been saying Michigan has been the best team, but that has changed. They're saying that the Duke Blue Devils have definitely the best resume. And we thought, even John Shire kind of said, yeah, we might take some hits. These guys have learned how to play on neutral sites, on the road, against small teams, against big teams, against teams you might see in the first round of the NCAA tournament, against teams you might see in an NCAA tournament final. Like, this game yesterday told me that this team is for fucking real.
So I want to really quick mention one thing about Tom Izzo, which is that, he had some things about the refs and he had some stuff that seemed like sour grapes. He also had some really nice words for John Shire. He specifically said, no one wants to follow a legend. He followed an icon, and look at what he's doing with this program. So, I know you guys as Michigan fans have a special hatred for Tom Izzo. I did think his comments about John Shire in the postgame were very well placed and were very respectful and showed that perhaps the elder statesman of the game right now, with all the other guys who've retired, with Boeheim, with Roy, with Coach K, with all these guys who've retired.
It's either him or Self, right? Like,
yeah, well, and I think Izzo's there. Izzo's more of the elder statesman than Bill Self is. For Tom Izzo, the spokesman, so to speak, of the old guard, to be saying this guy John Shire is something special and what he's doing is something special, that carries some weight for me, and I think he should be praised for that. We're sitting here, we're doing nothing but bashing Michigan State. They deserve that praise. because I think Izzo handled that properly. Guys, I want to move us. We got a pattern that we usually follow here. We got to get to some headlines.
We actually have to talk about the game and not our just joyous emotions about it.
What the hell's going on? I want to get to some headlines. We had some really good ones, and I want to remind everyone, again, when you hear the word fear in these headlines, that is someone probably referencing either the fact that Jeremy Fears went 0 for 10 from the floor, or the fact that Jeremy Fears acted like an ass and encouraged the crowd to chant "fuck Cam Boozer." So, with that said, I will start with John Hodges' headline, which was "No fears, just tears. Duke silences Breslin as trash-talking Spartans shoot blanks." Good job, John. You got the topic right.
Eric Bishop, that was a great one. I had that one on my list. Dave Jordan and Eric Bishop had kind of a couple of ones talking about the Izzone. Eric Bishop's one is great. If you went to Duke, you understand this completely. He wrote, "Duke parks Spartans in blue zone as Boozer makes Izzone his own." That is great. There's some alliteration in there, some rhyming in there, Jason. Love that one. And then David Jordan said, "Duke takes Izzone to Spartans and rolls to victory with Foster's 3."
David Futterman gave us "Bruisin' Boozer and Fearless Foster spear Spartans." That's a fun one to say quickly. Jim Baumgartner, I like this one, and we're going to get to this a little bit later. He said Jim Baumgartner's headline was, "Thank you, Jim Boeheim. Duke's second half zone stymies State." Duke going to a zone was a big story in this game, and I appreciate Jim pointing that out. And I got one more I wanted to mention. Nick Soprano. Little reference to Sparta here. He goes, "Leonidas and his 300 couldn't defeat Shire and his 9 as Duke bounces Sparty." Good job, Nick. I like that one.
And Jason, as I mentioned with the resume and how a lot of people are talking about how this is the best resume, at least so far, for any college basketball team, Courtney Kruger said, "Duke makes a Michigan statement. We are for real."
All right, I'm going to start the conversation in the good with this. I'm going to start, I guess I'm sort of starting with Caleb Foster and Nick Hamenia, because what I'm talking about is this. Against Florida, we commented Duke went big down the stretch. They went really big. In fact, they were playing Malik Brown and Pat Gamba and Cameron Boozer and Nick Hamenia and Caleb Foster together as a lineup. It was huge. It was a kind of lineup you would never, NBA size, honestly. Bigger, in fact, probably bigger than a lot of NBA teams. There aren't. Cameron Boozer was playing the small forward. There's just not a lot of NBA teams playing a guy like that at small forward. In this game, Duke went small. Now, part of it was foul trouble. All 3 of our bigs were in foul trouble. But we went small because that was the lineup that was working best, because Nick Hamenia and Caleb Foster were both playing like dudes 3 or 4 inches taller than they actually are. Nick Hamenia, for my man to get 10 points and 9 rebounds against a great rebounding team like Michigan State was super impressive. Duke was fighting for the boards, controlling the boards in a way I frankly did not expect us to do against the big boys of Michigan State. Duke came into this game, Michigan State came into this game with the 4th best rebounding margin in all of college basketball. The 4th best rebounding margin. They were out-rebounding teams by 13.5 rebounds per game. 13.5 rebounds per game. Duke won the rebounding margin. In the second half, Michigan got 2 second chance points. This is a team that lives. Michigan State literally throws the ball at the backboard, throws the ball at the rim because they know they're probably going to get the rebound. They offensive rebounded at close to 45% against everyone else not named Duke. Against Duke, they got only 27% of their offensive rebounds, and they only had 2 second chance points in the second half. That is how you impose your will on another team. You say, hey, you do this thing really great. You're not going to do it great anymore. We're just not going to let you do that thing that you count on, that thing that's the most important part of how you win basketball games. Sorry, you don't get to do that anymore against us. That is how Duke won this basketball game. Period. End of story. And I think that Nick Hamenia and Caleb Foster were the guys who were helping out with the rebounds. I know Caleb only had 4 rebounds, but I'm telling you, he went in the crowd and got them. Those 2 guys, to me, deserve all the praise for what they did outside of their offense in terms of their defensive rebounding.
Jason, I think the one thing about Michigan State that's always been true is that they're really good at rebounding and they're physical and they make every game a dogfight. And this is like a respectful dogfight, not like a dirty one, but like every game you emerge tired, gassed, because they know how to be in these type of wars, and other opponents normally don't. This is what, again, why we schedule a Michigan State, is because we need to be in some of these dogfights. And the dogfight starts at the point guard and the shooting guard positions, the 1 and the 2. It's not always, yeah, sure, the big guys are going to bang, and that's going to be true most games. But Michigan State is 1 through 5 a team that will go after rebounds, dive on the floor for loose balls, dive into crowds, and kind of do that kind of mentality of a basketball game. And Duke has to figure out how to play in those games. This is why we played Michigan State. I thought they passed that test. And I think, like you said, Caleb Foster, and I guess more so Nick Haminia, being a guy who could grab rebounds. I didn't think Nick Haminia was going to be the second leading rebounder on the team in any game. That's not what his game is about. But he had to adapt his game to like help Duke outlast Michigan State. I love the fact that our guards were getting after it. Our guards were making sure that they were able to keep guys in front of them. And there was definitely trips where, as we kind of, I don't think at a certain point there was no lead that was bigger than like 4 or 5 points. And it was because every time
Duke led by 6 at one point, Michigan State led by 5 at one point. The entire game was played in that.
The entire game. Band. It was
it's crazy.
And so because of that, it's like there was a lot of opportunities where, okay, we have a shot, and normally Michigan State would go, oh great, we're gonna miss this shot. But it feels like 8 guys that are going to get the rebound. Nick Haminia would come down with it. Of all the guys on the floor, right, Nick Haminia was coming down with rebounds amongst the trees. I think that part was really, again, that is a big way to step up for a freshman in an environment like that.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Haminia and Caleb Foster are the obvious non-boozer marquees goods from this game. The fact that Nick Haminia played 34 minutes, which was tied with Cam Boozer's, tells you all you need to know.
Wait. Actually, I looked at the exact number of minutes.
Oh.
Well, we got the exact number. Nick Haminia plays 34 minutes and 21 seconds. Cameron Boozer plays 34 minutes and 19 seconds. So by 2 seconds, Nick Haminia leads the team in minutes played. And I should point something out. He hadn't even practiced the past couple days. He's had a bump. Remember, he injured his ankle. He got a bum ankle against Florida, and he hasn't practiced the past couple of days. In the post-game press conference, John Shire said, huge credit to our training room, to our doctors, to our trainers for getting Nick Haminia able to play in this game. How does my man not practice for 2 days and then suddenly lead the team in minutes played in a huge game on the road as a freshman? What are we even talking about from Nick Haminia?
It is what I think is the subplot that may not get talked about as much from this game. The fact that Nick Haminia led the team in minutes, probably claimed his spot in the starting lineup. Dame Sarr quietly had one of his better games in the Duke uniform because he was in a role that suits who he is now much better. Dame Sarr played 20 minutes off the bench. He was our primary guy off the bench. The 3-2 zone that we went to does not work without Dame Sarr. It does not work without Dame Sarr at the point of that 3-2 zone, basically just saying, I am 6'7" with go-go gadget extendo arms. Try to make passes around me. And by Nick Haminia starting, Dame Sarr didn't have to worry about doing things he's less comfortable with at this point in his development. Dame Sarr is not an offensive threat right now. Let's just accept that. He is a defensive menace. And if Nick Haminia is starting and Dame Sarr is coming off the bench, particularly if at the 4-minute mark of every game, we say, oh, you think you had a good start? Now you have to deal with Malik Brown and Dame Sarr coming in and throwing everything you have off with their defense. That's a really, really potent weapon. And again, that works for who Dame Sarr is now so much better than when he was in the starting lineup and feeling like he had to try to be the 3rd or 4th option offensively. This could be the Sion James moment for this team. This could be the unlock of Nick Haminia works better in the starting lineup with this group. And Dame Sarr now becomes a super ultra useful 6th man.
Donald, what do you think about that?
I said it in the preview, like in the stats game. I said there was going to be a moment where someone replaces somebody in the starting lineup, and it's funny because against Florida, right? Like that's where it happened. And it's, I guess, the ACC SEC Challenge is that pivotal change moment every season so far, because last year that was when Sion James entered the lineup. That's also when Slim broke out. This time it is Nick Kaminia entering the lineup in favor of Dame Sarr, and then he kind of explodes a couple games later against Michigan State. I like the fact that also that, again, it's about competition, right? It's not necessarily always about fit too. Like, fit is a big piece of that puzzle, but if Nick Kaminia wasn't up for the competition part of things, he would not be starting. So it's the fact that he has been competing in practice, and this is John Strauss saying, look, this is our better lineup. This guy has been competing. This guy has been working hard. I have to try this out and see if it fits. And so far it has. And again, I think he had to adapt his game even further yesterday. A lot of guys did in that environment, because you kind of have to be a little bit more physical than you think you are against Michigan State. And for all these guys to step up in that department, that's why we walk out of that Breslin Center as winners.
So I've got two other big themes I want to mention from this game. The first one is turnovers. God, guys, this was an unbelievably clean game.
Yeah.
In the second half, Duke had 2 turnovers. Michigan State only had 1 turnover. 3 turnovers combined in the second half. Michigan State, by the way, only had 5 turnovers the entire game. Duke had 5 steals. Michigan State literally didn't commit a turnover other than Duke taking it away from them. That is really, really clean. These were 2 teams playing really high-level basketball. Duke, by the way, has 8 total turnovers in this game. And I noticed that we had 6 about 15 minutes or so into the first half. We had 6 like in the first 15 minutes. I'll get to it a little bit. Duke had a little run of being pretty sloppy, where, Michigan State, that was Michigan State's best part of the game, when Duke was getting sloppy. But for us to clean it up the way we did was really, really essential to Duke winning this game. And then the other thing I wanted to, it kind of goes hand in hand, so to speak, with this in terms of big themes. I talk about turnovers. I also want to talk about shot selection, because I think this is the biggest thing that changed in this contest. In the first half of this game, Duke took 19 three-pointers. 19 threes in the first half. They only took 11 two-point shots. Duke only took 4 free throws in the first half of the game. We were settling for the first available three-pointer. And Duke, you just cannot fall into that trap. So in the second half, again, 19 threes in the first half, 10 threes in the second half. 11 two-point shots in the second half, 15 two-point shots in the second. 11 two-point shots in the first half, 15 two-point shots in the second half, and then free throws. Guys, the free throw difference. 4 free throws in the first half, 19 free throws in the second half for the Duke Blue Devils. We went from playing outside to playing more inside. This Duke team, all the difference in the game. Michigan State won a bunch of all these different key metrics and stats. The difference in this game was Duke won free throws by a big margin. We hit 5 more free throws than they did, and we win the game by 6 points. It was clear to me that in the second half, Duke made the adjustment. We said we're going to get Cameron Boozer into the post more. We're going to operate not outside looking outside, but outside looking in. And as a result, we went to the free throw line a lot more than we did in the first half. And that's the reason Duke won this game.
Can I shift quickly to the guy who is in the middle, who was the subject of some cheers in the first half, Cameron Boozer? Because I think in the second half,
have we gone so long without talking about him? How did we do
talk
that?
about it?
Because we
at the
just
top.
expect it. It's just
we talked
a ho hum
about him
game
at the
from
top.
him.
Yeah, we talked about him at the top, but in a different light. This one I would talk about in a more positive light, because again, at halftime, I would love to see that if there's video of the locker room, because if you remember against Tennessee, Jason, when we were down and he was struggling, this was the exhibition, you could see him hyping the team up. And I feel like this was a game where his team said, look, these guys are coming, this crowd is coming after you, this team is coming after you for some reason, and you have to step up and meet that challenge and meet that intensity, and we're here to help you with that. And so I think the fact that he came out in the second half, again, at halftime, I sent you the clip of the chants, and I said he's going for 25. It's because of my heart of hearts, I knew that he was going to come out and respond he did. He ends with 18 points, 15 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and a block. And I think also throughout the second half, he took all the negative energy in the Breslin Center and turned it into positive energy for his team. He was making great passes. He was making the right decisions. He was getting inside and realizing that sometimes they were going to double him, and he had to figure out how to play through that. he would find his open teammates if he needed to. There was also times where he'd come in and expect a double team, and he only got one person on him, and he said, "Oh, it's time to feast," and feast he did. I love the fact that his mentality is as a winner. There's a reason why he's the most, winningest high school basketball player of all time. Why he has probably more trophies and more medals in his closet than any other high school player ever. He showed a lot of that winning mentality yesterday. And again, it wasn't always him making the basket. It was him making the right decision with the basketball or being in a position to help his teammates. And I think all these guys, and we've seen this so far this year, they all live off of each other being successful. The fact that Nick Kameni was successful was great for Dame Sarr and for Caleb Foster. The Caleb Foster hitting that three at the end, how everybody celebrated. You can see at the end, like Slim was on the other side of the court just celebrating because he knew that was a big moment for the team. I think that's a great way to kind of sum up Cam's game. And yesterday it was on full display. Yeah, he had a shaky first half, but he rebounded. And literally rebounded. And also in the points department said, I know I need to step up, and I'm here to do that. And in the first 5 minutes of the second half, it felt like it was the Cam Boozer show once again.
Cam, in the first half, it felt like he was giving up the ball too quickly. Like that's what I noticed. It felt like he was looking for the pass more than looking to create for himself. But also Michigan State, I thought, did a great job of not doubling, but like giving him feints, giving him little stabs, getting in his vision. So he couldn't really tell if the help was coming or not. And I thought that, they were using like their length, their physicality and the such to make him really uncomfortable. And I thought the Duke coaching staff did a really good job of opening up even more space for Cam in the second half. Like the opening play of the second half was we put Cam on the wing and we really cleared out everybody. And we made it so that Cam had that half of the court all to himself, and he was able to, get inside, power his way, and get a bucket. And you're like, okay, well, this is the Cam Boozer that is the player of the year that everyone is talking about. This is a Cam Boozer that, frankly, we haven't seen so far in this game. And I think that, I think the Duke coaching staff did a really nice job of opening up the middle so that Cam would have more room to operate. I say all this about Cam, giving it up too quickly and all this other kind of stuff. At the same time, the play of the game is unquestionably the play where Cam has the ball, goes into the post, and Fears comes toward him. And so Cam dishes it out to Cephas for the game-winning three-pointer. I'll say it right. Look, when we get to play of the game later on, I've got some other plays I want to mention, but that's the play of the game. Period. The three-pointer by Caleb that bounces off the rim and goes through the net. Period. End of story. I want to hear no other nominees. That's the play of the game.
It's also, if you think about it, for the last 3 minutes of the ball game, we got point guard Cam, right? He was the one bringing the ball up.
Yeah.
He was the one initiating the offense. And that play was the result of him standing at the top of the key and like he's Kyrie Irving and going, okay, I'm going to run this set. Everybody get in position. And everybody trusted him, including the coaching staff, with the ball to make a play that we saw so many times last year that sometimes were good, sometimes were bad. But so far this year, having the ball in his hands has proven to be a successful decision because every single time late in the game, he has made the right decision with the basketball.
By the way, I wanted to note on that play, John Shire talked about it in the postgame, and he said he praised Cam's strength and his hands. He said when Fears went in there to get that ball, leaving Caleb Foster open, he said most guys turn that over. That's a scramble play for most players. But Cam's hands are so strong, he was able to sort of fight through Fears grabbing for the ball, and he was able to kick it out to Cephas. And I wanted to mention regarding Caleb, we talked about it a little bit, but in addition to hitting that big three-pointer, Caleb, with 10 seconds left and Duke up 3 and Cam out of the game, Duke got the ball specifically to Caleb Foster to shoot free throws. We knew we were getting fouled. We knew we were going to have to inbound the ball and then get fouled. And we knew it was a 1-on-1 situation. And we said, we're getting it to Caleb Foster, who, by the way, is hitting 57% of his free throws in the season. Like, if you're Michigan State, you're like, oh, wow, they got, you should be thrilled they got it to Caleb Foster. No, Duke made up their mind. Caleb Foster's the guy we want on the free throw line with a 1-on-1 with 10 seconds left. And by the way, the very previous game against Florida, he was in the same situation. And he missed the free throw. But he stepped up and drained those 2 free throws to ice the game for Duke. Look, I know he struggled at the free throw line this season. When we get to the bad, we're going to talk about free throw shooting a little bit. But CFOS, when the game was on the line, said, no, guys, I got this. And that's a big moment. Scott, give me something.
So I think there are two big picture goods that we should take away from this game, generally speaking. One is, you mentioned how Michigan State never had a lead exceeding 5 points. I counted, there were about a half dozen moments in this game where Michigan State got the lead to 5 points. And it's that moment where, okay, a stop and a score for Michigan State, Breslin Center explodes, Duke takes a timeout, and it feels like a run. It feels like a game that gets out of hand because we're on the road against a good team in a crazy environment. Every single damn time that happened, Duke responded with a big bucket of their own. That lead never extended past 2 possessions. And I'm sorry, that's something that John Shire's teams have struggled with in the past. We have let games get away from us when the momentum is in the opposition's favor. The mental fortitude of this team to say, no, you got your 5-point lead. It's not getting any bigger than that. To me, that's the thing that makes me the most encouraged about the long-term trajectory of this team. The last thing I want to say, we mentioned that there was a Matt Norlander from CBS wrote an article yesterday saying that you can debate who the best team is, but you can't debate who the best resume is. Right now, Duke has the best resume, and arguably it's not even that close. Duke has 4 Q1 wins. That's tied for the most in college basketball. The other team, ironically, who has 4 Q1 wins is Michigan State, but they also have a Q1 loss now. And Duke still has 2 more Q1 non-conference opportunities on tap. Duke has played, according to the net, the 14th hardest net non-conference strength of schedule. The other teams that Duke will probably be competing with on the 1 seed line come March. Michigan has, I'm sorry, I mixed that up. Duke has the 46th ranked non-conference schedule. Michigan is 14. But all of these other teams that Duke is going to be competing with for the number 1 seeds have non-conference strengths of schedules in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. And Duke's is only going to get better when we play Texas Tech, when we play Michigan in February in DC. Right now, Duke is your number 1 overall seed if the season ended today. That's not something we could say at this time last year when we were, sweating out, are we even competing for a number 1 seed? That's a difference between this year's squad and last year's squad, that we've won the close games that build us a resume, that give us a little bit of wiggle room come ACC season that we didn't have last year.
Yeah, I love that, Scott. I love the fact that we had these 3 games in a row in 3 different environments, a neutral, a home, and a road environment. But like Arkansas, Sweet 16 kind of opponent, Florida, even though, they've struggled a little bit, I feel Elite 8 kind of opponent, and Michigan State on the road, that's the Final Four kind of game. And for the Blue Devils to take these games. And by the way, it's all been talked about. We don't need to get into it that much, but we're winning the close games. I mean, a year ago, that seemed to be a problem. And the interesting thing to me about the way we're winning the close games is a year ago, when it came down the stretch, close game, Duke needs a possession, it was Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg didn't do it against Kentucky, didn't do it against Kansas, didn't do it against Clemson, and then didn't do it against Houston in the NCAA. And I'm not blaming Cooper Flagg's incredible, but I'm just saying it was the same player doing the same thing again and again and again, and it never worked out. Duke's doing the same thing. We're putting it in our best player's hands, in Cam Boozer's hands, but Cam is doing, I'm going to find Isaiah. I'm going to find Caleb. There's just more variety of what Duke is going to down the stretch, and so far it's working very nicely. Last word, Donald, then we're going to take a break.
Yeah, and a quick further note about the resume. Did you guys know that this last 3 games, Arkansas, Florida, Michigan State, just the second time in program history that Duke has won 3 consecutive games against ranked teams in the regular season?
Non-conference game. We've done it in ACC play. No.
I said it's just the second time in program history we've done it at all. The other time, yes, was in February 2016 when we beat Louisville, UVA, and then went on the road to beat UNC. All of those teams were ranked.
I love it. All right, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, time for some things to work on. We're going to talk free throws, and I've got a little bit of a rant about the refs and the announcers. We're going to get to all that after this break.
Hey, the holidays are almost here, and if you have names still on your list, don't panic. Uncommon Goods makes holiday shopping stress-free and joyful. With thousands of one-of-a-kind gifts you can't find anywhere else, you'll discover presents that feel meaningful and personal, never rushed or last minute.
You know, Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, from moms and dads to kids and teens, from book lovers and sports fans to foodies, mixologists, and gardeners. You'll find unforgettable gifts that are anything but ordinary. And perhaps most importantly, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. Every purchase is a chance to choose something remarkable and feel good about where your money goes.
Look, so don't wait. Make this holiday of the year you give something truly unforgettable. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/DukeBB. That's uncommongoods.com/DukeBB and get 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods. We're all out of the ordinary.
Here's my 30-second story with Guinness. As soon as my sister and I get home for the holidays, we don't even unpack. We head straight to our pub. The bartender already knows our order, Guinness and fries. We laugh all night, catch up with old friends, and walk home with faces sore from smiling. It's one of my favorite nights of the year. That was my 30-second story with Guinness.
Guinness Draft Stout. Please enjoy responsibly. Imported by Diageo Beer Company, USA, New York, New York.
We're only a few weeks in, and the season is already wild. Stars are going off, freshmen are making noise, and the action doesn't stop. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is where you can get in on all of it for pro and college basketball.
Yeah, and don't forget the holiday tournaments and the Emirates NBA Cup. Big moments, big matchups, and a whole lot on the line. Don't miss out. Jump in and bet on the action today.
So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code DukeBB. That's code DUKEBB. Bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
The Disney Plus Hulu HBO Max bundle. The ultimate bundle at an unbelievable price. Starting at $19.99 a month. On Disney Plus, go behind the scenes with Taylor Swift in the end of an era.
Every single one of us all clicked together.
Battle it out with The Roses on Hulu.
Things are getting a little out of hand.
Oh, you think?
And don't miss The Conjuring, Last Rites on HBO Max.
I don't know how to protect you this time.
All these and more streaming this month. Plans starting at $19.99 a month. Terms apply. Visit Disney Plus Hulu HBO Max bundle.com for details.
Abercrombie Kids is bringing the cheer all holiday season and the gifts too. No matter how long their wish list is, there's always room for just one more. Whether it's a new winter coat, an extra pair of jeans, or cozy matching sweat sets, get gifting with looks they've been waiting for all year. Shop Abercrombie Kids in the app, online, and in stores.
We're back from the break. If you're not sick of listening to us, we appreciate you sticking around. Jason, Donald, and Scott, Supersized Sunday. That's what we're going to call this here on the DBR podcast after a sensational Saturday where Duke won in football for an ACC title and won in basketball against Michigan State. As we continue the conversation about this game against the Michigan State Spartans, we have to start the things to work on, the bad, with the free throws. Duke just 15 of 23 on free throws in this game. That's 65%. It's not like terrible. It's not like atrocious, but it's not good. In a close, tight game, you got to get those free throws. And I want to just mention Big Pat. I love that Big Pat drew 6 fouls in this game. I love that he went to the free throw line 8 times in this game. I do not love that he only hit 4 of those 8 free throws. We got to figure out a way to get that. Guys, we got to figure out a way to get the free throw shooting better on this team. This Duke team, I haven't looked historically, but it feels like one of the worst free throw shooting teams we've had at Duke in a long, long time.
Well, it's not even just the free throws, right? I think at a certain point yesterday during the game, during the second half especially, I was kind of saying to nobody in particular at my godson's birthday party, like, we need to hit more shots. Like, we just need to hit. Like, there was a lot of times where, Scott, as you mentioned, that momentum bug, you're kind of worried that a 5-point lead for Michigan State goes to 8 or 10, but we weren't helping the situation because there was times we could have stifled those runs that we felt, that felt insurmountable at the time. We could have stifled them by just hitting a couple shots. We had a lot of open threes that we missed. We had a couple of inside shots, and again, that's a testament to the physicality of this game. But we had some open looks inside that we missed. Shot selection is a little smaller part of that puzzle, but I think that making a few more of those shots would have helped. And especially if you're going to shoot as many threes as we did, especially in the first half, if you make a few of them, it's a bigger lead, and maybe it's a more something that you can handle in the second half. We kind of have them at arm's length. That's the difference between having a team at arm's length / blowing them away and having to fight for every single inch of the basketball court in the second half. So again, it's not the last time we're going to have a off shooting day. Free throws is something that you could always work on, as Jason, as we mentioned. If we're in the 70% range, you're doing cool. If you're 75% to 80%, you're doing great. If you're over 80%, you're winning championships. And that's what we need to continue to do. It's always something you can work on is free throws. We could go 29 for 30 and we'll go, you can make a 30th free throw, right? Like, it's always something you can build on. But also it's the timeliness of some of those missed free throws that are something that you need to definitely nip in the bud.
It was interesting in the press conference. John Shire made a point, and he sort of did this as well after the Florida game, of saying, we took a lot of shots that I think we should make. We had some shot selection issues. I don't think that was our best, our tier A game. That is still to come. And for John Shire to say that, to acknowledge that, because I think that was, there were a lot of threes that could have stretched this game open for us rather than, the inverse, like I was talking about, keeping it within 5 when Michigan State had the lead. The fact that we did what we did, came away from this game with missing shots that John Shire expects this team to make, that says something positive, even though this is the bad. The person that I think this boils down to is Slim Evans. I think that he can't be, for us to achieve our goals long term, he can't be shooting 2 for 6 from 3. He's got to be making the shots that we know he can make, and he has to be cutting down on some of the heat check threes that we were fine with when he was playing 10, 15 minutes a game last year. But now that he's playing 25, 30 minutes a game, those have more consequences. Those change the flow of the game. Those change the offensive makeup and what we're doing on that side of the floor. That shot selection, I think the primary place that improves is with Isaiah. And I think that that's probably something that this team knows. And, Isaiah made huge shots, right? He made that 3 with under 4 minutes ago. He made those 3 free throws. So this didn't come back to bite us. But some of that shot selection, I think, boils down to Slim and him getting back to being that 40+% three-point shooter rather than, the 30-ish% three-point shooter where he is now, boils down to shot selection.
No disagreement from me at all. I talked earlier about the fact that I thought Duke was settling for too many threes in the first half, and that we got a lot smarter about the way we played in the second half in terms of shot selection. I also want to mention, by the way, we kind of alluded to this a little bit, but Duke just got super sloppy. There was like a stretch in the first half, probably a 5-minute stretch or so, where like we botched a couple lobs that they just look weird. We failed to convert a couple fast breaks. It really allowed Michigan State to make this into a Michigan State kind of game. Duke was trying to make it a little more flowy, a little bit faster, and Michigan State, they just made it messy and physical. And we were able to win playing that way, but it would have been a lot more fun to win playing the way we wanted to play. I also wanted to mention one thing about Big Pat. I want to be clear. I think Big Pat really battled nicely on the boards. I praised him earlier for getting fouled as much as he did, even though he didn't hit the free throws. Big Pat's got to realize who he's guarding a little bit better. There were twice in the first half where he was guarding Jackson. He got switched onto Jackson Kohler, and he was like, oh, I'll let this guy go out to the 3-point line. No. Jackson Kohler is hitting 47% of his threes in the season. I want to repeat that. Jackson Kohler's hitting 47% from three in the season. Hey, Pat, don't let him have a wide open, easy look from three, because he's going to bury you with it. And it kind of, I think that Pat doing that allowed Jackson Kohler to get this really comfortable feel. And that's how he hit 4 3-pointers in the first half. Dude was crushing us. And you just your scouts got to be better. You got to recognize, oh, this is a guy I can set free, or this is a guy where I really can't let him get this. And by the way, Kohler he's not a super fast 3-point shooter. It's not like this is Isaiah Evans that you're guarding out there. Guy takes his time on his shot, but the problem is if you give him space, he'll take his time and he'll bury you with it. And I just think Pat needs to, Duke needs in general to recognize that kind of stuff. Don't let him get his feet set on the wing and get that shot off.
So the other thing, and I don't think we talked a lot about this, but I think that the zone that we played was actually pretty efficient later on to protect Cam Boozer once
we
he
haven't
got his
talked
fourth
enough
foul.
about this. We should have talked about the zone earlier. It was super effective.
Yeah, but one part of the zone that I think we obviously need to work on, and it's not like we're going to see a ton of zone this year, but it's something that John Shire will deploy from time to time. This time it was a 3-2 zone. And that means that for those of you who don't know what a zone looks like, you have 3 guys at the top and you have 2 guys underneath in the paint. And the 2 guys, it's really the 3 guys on the shell part of the exterior are going to kind of protect the guys inside from a lot of banging, and really in the case of Cam Boozer, from picking up a 5th foul because of guys going to the net. The one place where I think that we need to kind of work on it is when the guy who has the ball has a tendency to be a guy who turns the ball over a lot or makes bad decisions. The zone is still able to force you into doing that. And the person that I'm thinking about is Divine Ugochukwu, who, as you guys talked about in the preview, came from Miami. And Miami, like when I saw him play, he has a tendency when his team is down to really start trying to figure out how to be the hero in every single play. And there was a couple times where he took some open threes, and I'm like, oh yeah, if there's a guy with a hand in his face, like they're blocking the shot and we're going the other way, or we're getting the steal, or he's dribbling off of his foot, or he's going to do something to panic. We didn't allow with that zone the guys with the ball to panic and make a bad decision. That's part of the reason why this game was kind of clean. But I think as the zone kind of evolves, and again, we're not going to see a ton of it, but as the zone evolves, these guys will have to learn how to still use the zone to stifle the ball handler. And that's something you could obviously do with a zone, a matchup zone, or even just a traditional zone. Either way, you want it where the ball is, because the way to protect the guy in the middle from getting his 5th foul in the zone is to make sure the ball doesn't get into the middle of the zone in the first place. To do that, you have to be still aggressive when you're on the ball playing defense.
Hey, one other thing we want to mention in the bad, I know Scott wants to talk about this in a second, but if you look at the plus minus for Duke, there's one guy who really sticks out. By the way, Caleb Foster leads the team in plus minus at plus 13. Big number. There's someone who is way, way, way in the negative for plus minus. Caden Boozer in his 12 minutes, Duke was minus 11. That is just not a good number. Scott, I know you wanted to mention Caden really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, Caden shoots 1 for 6 from the field. He had one nice layup on his brother driving the fast break. He also missed a floater that I think, Caden Boozer makes in high school 99 times out of 100. He's 0 for 3 from beyond the arc. It feels like he hasn't quite yet adjusted to the athleticism and the physicality of the college game. But we sort of knew that wasn't his strength, right? Caden Boozer is not a jump off the screen athlete. That's why he's seen as more of a multi-year guy, not a one and done caliber guy by most metrics. But we are going to need Caden Boozer this year. We are going to need Caden Boozer to be our 7th, 8th man, to give us 15, 20 minutes, and to be able to, even if he's not scoring, to drive the offense in a different way. This offense should look different when Caden Boozer is running the floor in leading it in a pass-first way than it is when Caleb Foster's on the floor, when he's basically facilitating and letting Cameron Boozer essentially be the point forward. in Caden's limited minutes, I'm not looking for him scoring as much as I'm looking for, is he facilitating, and does this offense look different? Is the Caden Boozer minutes, is that the changeup that the other team has to adjust to? I haven't seen that the last two games against arguably our two biggest opponents of the year thus far. That is something that I think over this next 10 or however long of a break we have before Lipscomb, I think that's going to be an emphasis in practice and getting Caden back into doing Caden Boozer things, rather than just trying to fill in a hole for 10, 15 minutes off the bench.
Well, by the way, this break is also full of exams. So I think they try and ease off the practice schedule at least a little bit for these guys. But yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. Hey, I want to get quickly to the refs and then to the announcers. For the referees, the fourth foul on Cameron Boozer and the fifth foul on Cameron Boozer, I thought the fourth foul was absolute bullshit. The fifth foul was even worse. This is just ridiculous. And, I don't know. John Shire cannot, he can't go crazy and get a technical, I guess. But, man, work the refs a little bit more, because those fouls were, the fourth foul, it's a missed free throw. The missed free throw came long, and Cam was kind of sandwiched between two Michigan State guys. I went back and I watched the replay like 3 times. It's a ridiculous. He does nothing. It is an absolutely absurd foul call by that official. It's the official, frankly, just bowing to the crowd. That's all he's doing, is he's like saying, "Oh, I hear everyone in this crowd is just yelling and going crazy. Let me give him a little more red meat." But the fifth foul is just, Jimmy Jackson, who I'll get to the announcers were atrocious as well. Jimmy Jackson was even like, that's a pretty soft foul call there. Carson Cooper jumped into Cameron Boozer more than anything else. And it's minor contact at best.
And Cameron Boozer actively avoids him.
Yes, he's getting out of the way. And Carson Cooper jumps into him. It's ridiculous for the refs to be that bad, but I guess you guys watch games in Breslin. You're used to the referees in Breslin taking a check before they walk in the front door, right?
So that's Tom Izzo's specialty. Tom Izzo works the refs from an hour before game time to an hour after game time. And somehow he never gets texts. Big Ten teams have been losing their minds over this. That's what you expect when you go into the Breslin Center. And that's why we scheduled this game. We scheduled this game to play 5-on-7, to play our 5 versus their 5 plus the crowd plus the refs, because we're going to have other games like that in ACC play, and we have that experience in our back pocket now.
There's a commonality between Boozer's fourth foul, Boozer's fifth foul, and the push out play on Virginia's game tying touchdown. No players were touched in the making of any of those 3 plays.
Let me get to the announcers really quickly. David Kerman, the K-Man, sent us an email, and he said he's just wondering if Tim Brando gets a bonus from the Big Ten for every Michigan State win, because it sure as heck sounded like Tim Brando and Jimmy Jackson were there as active rooting participants, that they were members of the crowd rooting on Michigan State. They were next level awful. And I want to point out, they were hallucinating things, those two guys. Like at one point, Caleb had a pass get deflected, and Tim Brando said it went off the backboard. I was like, it never went near the backboard. What are you even talking about? And there was another play. There's a play where Cameron set a screen on Jeremy Fears that knocked Fears down. And Tim Brando said that Isaiah had faked Jeremy Fears to the ground, had broken his ankles. I was just like, that's just not what happened on that play. Hey, good for Isaiah, but that's just not what happened on that play. It was like listening to a game where the play-by-play guy was from like AI. It was hallucinating things that weren't happening. It was ridiculous. They were terrible. For this to be CBS's number 1 team, they were awful.
Well, it's Fox, but it
Fox.
I also
whatever. Wait, was it Fox?
Yeah,
it was Fox.
It was
You're
Fox.
Right. My bad.
No,
My
but
bad.
but Jason, we should have known that, right? Like it's already down to the introduction of the starting lineups. Slim did not start this game. Some dude from NBA 2K started this game. That's who was identified as Isaiah
You're talking
Evans.
about the graphic. You're talking about the graphic. Yes. It looks. I mean, it'd be one thing. We look at it. We go, that's not Slim. It'd be one thing if it was someone in a blue and white uniform. He was wearing like a white and yellow uniform. Like
it was like he'd been traded to the Duke Blue Devils like recently, and they're like, oh, we forgot that we couldn't get a team picture with him.
So someone in the DBR forums, I tracked it down, and apparently it's a Purdue guy. So it was who the hell knows why. The other thing, just to add to your list, Jason, of things that the announcers were hallucinating, they said about a half dozen different times that this was Duke's first true road game. No, we played a true road game against Army. Yes, I know that's at Army, but look at our schedule, and there's a big @ sign ahead of one of our games. That should be something you can fix easily, not repeat over and over and over for an entire half.
Oh, and by the way, we played an exhibition game. I know it doesn't count in the standings, even though we wanted to. We played an exhibition game at Tennessee. That's the toughest exhibition game you can find. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And the other thing is they said it, and you know why they said it, right? There's narratives that they create with all these things. And the reason why they said it, framed it that way, is to kind of frame like this game was the big test for Duke because they've not known how to handle on the road, and everyone else that they've played has probably played at home or in the friendly confines of a semi-neutral site. We have only played one of those teams at home, right? They had to give us the Florida game for the ACC SEC Challenge at home because Duke fans that were season ticket holders were going to crash out that they don't get to see anybody at home, right? All these non-conference games that we've loaded up have been away from Cameron Indoor Stadium, with the exception of Florida. Yeah, maybe they're neutral sites, but as Coach K used to say every time, we don't play on the road in the NCAA tournament. We play in neutral sites. But the fact that we're still going on the road to play these teams is, again, why John Shire will duck zero smoke.
And also, all of our neutral site games have not all been in Charlotte and in
exactly
in the Garden. Yeah,
the game in Chicago against Arkansas, that was 50-50 at best. Arkansas fans, and you guys mentioned this, in your podcast, Arkansas fans showed out in that game. That was not a partisan Duke crowd by any means. So again, you're right, Donald, that this was just filling the narrative. Fox has made a conscious effort to be the sort of Big Ten booster to try to counter the SEC, bias of the ESPN. Like, this is like literally a network level effort to try to counter that. So I'm sure that was part of it. But yeah, it was tough to listen to.
All right, guys, let's get to our play of the game. Like I said, it's Caleb Foster's bounce 3. I will hear no other nominations.
Hear none.
I will hear no other final votes, but I will hear other nominations. Just to have a little bit of variety. I will say, the play was 6 minutes left when Duke was down 2 points. Michigan State had the ball, and Cameron was on the bench with his 4 fouls, and things look pretty dire. And Nick Jimenez slaps the ball away, and it allows Cephas to go the other way, where he made a really tough contested bank shot layup with 2 guys on him to tie the game up. I thought that I was like, that's my play of the game, and then Caleb hit a bounce 3-pointer, and okay. But you got other plays worth highlighting. Scott, go first.
I think under the radar play of the game, coming out of the halftime, Michigan State scores to immediately go up 5. The next possession, I believe, Cameron Boozer attacks the rim, and that was the play where he had that beautiful Euro step and sort of, finger roll right at the rim. Again, that's the type of play that, if he doesn't make that 5-point lead coming out of halftime, that balloons to 7-10 real fast. There was 5-point lead, nope, instant response by our best player. That kept us in the game, I thought. And it was just beautiful for someone of Cam's size to have that dexterity, to have that footwork is just amazing every time.
My honorable mention is Caleb Foster pointing at the scoreboard after the game as he went to the locker room. There you go.
I like that. That works. By the way, folks, if you listen to the preview, Cohen Carr had a couple.
Well, you said he would have some wow moments. He had the wow
and
moment
we answered
30
them.
seconds into the game.
Yeah. My dude, I just can't even. Watching him is fun. I know there's no love for Michigan State. Watching that man play is fun.
And we talked about in the preview how there isn't really a clear NBA guy on this roster. Someone's going to give Cohen Carr a shot because you can't teach that athleticism. You can teach some of the basketball skills he doesn't quite have yet. Someone's going to give that guy a 2-way contract at minimum just to see how the heck he can blossom at the next level.
Forget all that. Put him on a summer league team for the vibes. Like, you'll get him. Promise you.
Well, someone's going to give him a 2-way contract because that will allow him to play
in the dunk contest. I just want to see that guy in the slam dunk contest. That's guys, let's get to our player of the week. I'm pretty sure I know who it's going to be. I'll let you guys go ahead and say it, though, first. Donald, you get co-host privilege. Who's your player of the week? Cameron Boozer.
It's not.
Oh,
it's not
go,
Cameron
baby.
Boozer.
Go.
Let me take you guys back a year ago. A year ago, a guy by the name of Caleb Foster was taken out of the starting lineup, and he was really struggling. Fast forward a year later, he has a huge strip against Florida in the closing seconds of that game to help secure the win. He has the dagger against Sparty. As I mentioned, he points at the scoreboard to let them know that he had come onto their floor and done some dirty work. Caleb Foster, Cameron Boozer is the MVP of this week, but Caleb Foster was my player of the week because I think his clutch moments are why we are 10-0 today.
I think that I have a proposition. I think we might, going forward, have to have a non-Cameron Boozer player of the week. Otherwise, it's going to be a very boring conversation each time. So if we are going with a non-Cameron Boozer player of the week, it's 100% Caleb. I thought that, extend this week back a little bit to Arkansas. We saw Caleb Foster become a capital D Duke point guard this past 10 days. He is not going to score 20 points a game. He is not going to get 10 assists a game. Boo freaking who. Caleb Foster leads this team. Caleb Foster is a defensive menace who just held a guy who we extolled the virtues of Jeremy Fears in the previews, one of the most efficient players in all of college basketball. He did not make a field goal in this game at home. Caleb Foster is one of the main reasons this Duke team is winning. This Duke team is not 10-0 without Caleb Foster. And I am tired of hearing what Caleb Foster is not. It's about time we appreciate what Caleb Foster is. Because what Caleb Foster is what this team needs. And that's why we're 10-0.
I love it. I don't disagree with a word you guys said, but Cameron Boozer had 47 points, 21 rebounds.
Okay,
7
the
assists.
non-Cameron Boozer, the NCB player of the week.
Look, Cam is going to get plenty from me, right? Like this is not like it's just the same thing as Cooper Flagg last year was like, hey, just because he's better than everybody else in all these categories doesn't mean we have to figure out a way to engineer stuff. No, I honestly think that, yes, Cameron Boozer, like I said, was the MVP of this week, but we don't win those games without the clutchness of Caleb Foster. That's why I picked him. But next week, or next game, it'll probably be Cam because Cam will do that many, many times this year.
I mean, I don't think we've ever seen a statistical season like the kind of season that it's ridiculous that this is happening a year after Cooper Flagg. It's like insane that this is happening a year after Cooper Flagg. But just from a counting stats kind of standpoint, what Cameron Boozer is doing is just like unprecedented in a Duke uniform, maybe in a college basketball uniform for a freshman. I don't know. Anyway, these are things that we will continue to debate over the coming weeks. Scott Rich, thank you so much for joining us on this supersized Sunday. We had a ton of fun with you, sir. That is Donald. I am Jason. And here's the Duke Man playing us out into the exam break, but not a break for the DBR podcast. We'll be back at you very soon. Until then, play us out. Take us home.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. Like Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day, yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.